You do not need to beg, strive, or toil for the jackpot. It is already formed in the invisible. Your task is not to make it happen, but to allow it. And allowance begins with silence. When the mind is still, reality shifts. The noise of the world is nothing but distraction, outer movement that keeps you from the inner kingdom, where all things are already yours. In silence, you tune into the unseen frequency of wealth. You begin to hear what the world cannot. An echo, a whisper, a deep knowing that says it's done. Not it will be, not maybe someday, but already done. Most people miss their blessing because they're too loud to receive it. They talk too much about lack, they think too much about how, and they doubt too much to hear the answer that's already come. The jackpot doesn't arrive with effort, it arrives with awareness. You must stop and listen. Listen to the feeling of already having it. Not words, not thoughts. Feeling. Close your eyes, become silent, and listen to the experience of wealth already fulfilled. What does it feel like? Let the silence answer. When you become still, you hear with the spirit, not with the ears. You see with the inner eye, not with the physical one. And in that stillness, the world bends. It bends to your awareness of truth, that you are the source, the center, the operant power. This is not about affirming loudly or visualizing endlessly. This is about knowing quietly. For what you know in silence becomes fact in the visible. The most powerful manifestations are born in the quietest places. Your jackpot, whether it's money, love, health, or peace, is already aligned to you. The only thing delaying it is your noise. Drop it. The world responds to the state you live in, not the effort you perform. So retreat, not from life, but from over-effort. Drop into silence. Lie back in the knowing that it is done. Just listen, because in that space, the jackpot is no longer something you seek, it's something you remember. Something you feel, something that must appear, because you heard it before it arrived. Silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of power. In silence, you are not disconnected from life, you are deeply connected to the source of it. Most people live in a state of inner noise, mental chatter, doubts, worries, constant questioning of how and when. This noise drowns out the quiet voice that already knows the answer. You do not need to ask for what is already yours. You only need to receive it. And receiving begins the moment you enter the stillness within. When you are silent, your awareness becomes sharper. The surface distractions begin to fade, and your true self comes forward. This true self does not beg, does not chase, and does not force. It knows. It is in this knowing that reality begins to shift. Manifestation is not the result of noise, it is the child of calm certainty. When you stop trying to force a result and enter silence, you bypass the conscious mind's resistance. You step into the place where creation actually happens, the subconscious realm. You've been taught that action creates results, but the most powerful movements begin without motion. A seed doesn't scream its way into a tree, it grows in darkness, in silence, beneath the soil. In the same way, your desires take root when you rest in stillness. Silence allows the impressions of your desire to sink deep into the subconscious, and once there, they begin to grow without your interference. Silence is not weakness, it is alignment. In silence, you become one with what you desire. You begin to feel it, not as a future event, but as a present reality. You don't have to see it with your eyes. You feel it within. And that inner feeling becomes the signal that commands outer experience. All manifestation begins with a signal, and that signal is clearest in silence. You are not asking for something new, you are remembering what is already yours. Silence is the space where you recall your inheritance. You don't have to shout to be heard by the universe. The whisper of belief is louder than the scream of doubt. When you are still, you align with the frequency of fulfillment. You are no longer separate from what you want, you are one with it. The outer world cannot give you what the inner world has not accepted. So enter the stillness. Close the door on distraction, fear, and noise. Breathe into that deep, sacred space within. And listen. Listen without trying. Listen without needing. Listen with the quiet confidence that you have already received, because you have. In silence, the inner voice, the true voice speaks. And when it speaks, it does not request, it commands, it declares, and what it declares must come to pass. So rest, be still, and know that the very thing you've been asking for has already begun its journey to you, the moment you stopped asking and started listening. The jackpot does not arrive through effort alone. It comes when effort is surrendered, when the mind becomes still and receptive. Struggle is the illusion that you must earn your abundance through suffering, but the truth is, what you seek is already flowing toward you, if only you'd stop blocking it with resistance. You don't have to chase wealth. In fact, the very act of chasing implies you believe it is separate from you. And whatever you see as separate, you push further away. The jackpot, whether it's financial freedom, love, or peace, cannot come while your mind is busy wrestling with how and when. Struggling is rooted in the belief that you lack something. That belief alone becomes your vibration, and your reality mirrors it back. The more you push, the more life resists. You end up spinning in circles, thinking you're working hard when all you're doing is reinforcing lack. Real wealth comes not from chasing, but from aligning. Aligning your state of being with the feeling of already having. You cannot access abundance from a place of fear. You access it from a place of calm certainty. When the mind stops struggling, a new space opens up. That space is awareness. Awareness of what already is. Awareness of the truth that you are not here to beg life to give you scraps. You are here to remember that you are the source, and from that source you magnetize everything. The jackpot doesn't come to the one who is loudest or most desperate. It comes to the one who knows it is theirs and no longer needs to grasp for it. Think about it. The moments when miracles show up are not usually during high stress or desperation. They arrive in moments of surrender, peace, and inner stillness. That's because the struggle has ceased, and now the path is clear. The universe does not require your suffering. It responds to your vibration. When you relax, you match the energy of ease. And ease is the natural language of abundance. Letting go is not giving up. Letting go is knowing that your desire is already complete in the unseen, and your only job is to allow it to surface. Your effort should not be in striving, it should be in entering the state where the striving stops. A calm, confident expectation, an inner yes. So stop fighting, stop overthinking, stop treating life like a battle to win. What you want is not outside of you. It is waiting for you to stop resisting its arrival. Relax your grip. Loosen the mental noise. Walk in the assumption that it is already done. Then watch how quickly the jackpot appears. Seemingly out of nowhere, yet completely aligned with the stillness you finally chose. Listening is not something you do with your ears. It is something you do with your entire being. True listening is not passive. It is the most powerful act of alignment you can perform. It's the quiet tuning of your soul to the frequency of your desire. When you listen, not just hear, but listen, you become open, receptive, and in harmony with the very thing you once thought was far from you. Listening is how you receive instructions from the unseen. It's how you match the vibration of what you seek before it arrives. Most people believe listening means waiting for someone else to speak. But in the deeper sense, listening means becoming attuned to the subtle. It means stepping into the present moment and allowing everything to reveal itself without forcing, without judging, and without needing to react. The mind always wants to talk. It wants to analyze, control, debate, and solve. But the infinite does not speak to the mind. It speaks through silence. And only when you truly listen do you hear it. The desires you carry are not random. They are echoes of something already created in the unseen. When you listen deeply, you tune into that reality. You begin to feel what it would be like if it were already yours. That feeling is the bridge. That feeling is the match. You don't need to force manifestation. You need only listen long enough to become the version of yourself who already has it. The more you listen, the more you become. This is why listening is active. It's not sitting back and waiting. It's leaning in, energetically, spiritually, emotionally. It's allowing your consciousness to rest in the feeling of, I have heard it and it is done. When you reach that inner confirmation, things begin to move. Not because you worked harder, but because you matched the signal. We live in a universe governed by resonance. What you resonate with, you attract. If you're constantly talking, worrying, reacting, or chasing, you're not in the right vibration. You're in noise. But when you listen, you shift from noise to clarity. You stop being a seeker and become a receiver. That's when things begin to shift quickly and almost effortlessly. Listening is surrender without weakness. It's quiet strength. It's the sacred pause where divine ideas flow into your awareness. When you listen, you are not doing nothing. You are doing the most important thing. You are aligning with the infinite. You are saying, I trust the wisdom that is already here. I allow it to guide me. And that kind of trust magnetizes miracles. In the stillness of listening, answers come, direction comes, peace comes, but most importantly, the manifestation comes. Because now you are in harmony with it. You are no longer doubting, pushing, or resisting. You are simply listening. And in that quiet, you finally become the one who already has it. Desire is not a plea for something far away. It is a signal, a pull from something already created in the invisible. When you desire, you are not asking for something new to be made. You are tuning into something that already exists in the field of infinite possibilities. But the answers to your desires don't come with noise, flashing lights, or dramatic signs. They come gently, softly, in the spaces between your thoughts. That is why quiet is sacred. Because only in the quiet can you hear the answer. You've been told to pray, to ask, to seek. And yes, asking is the beginning, but receiving requires a different posture. It requires silence, not the silence of inactivity, but the inner stillness where your mind stops racing, where your questions stop multiplying, and where your heart becomes soft enough to feel the response. The universe does not scream over your mental chaos. It waits patiently and it responds in a whisper. The problem is not that your desire isn't heard. The problem is that your mind is too loud to receive the answer. When you're anxious, desperate, or constantly seeking validation from the outside world, you block the transmission. Imagine trying to hear a soft song while standing in the middle of traffic. It's not that the music isn't playing. You're just not in a state where you can hear it. It's the same with desire. The answers are playing. They are always being broadcast. But only silence tunes you in. Every prayer, every intention, every longing is met with a response. The response is not outside, it's within you. It arrives in the form of a knowing, a sudden peace, a clear idea, or a shift in emotion. It rarely comes as words and never as noise. It comes as a resonance, a subtle but undeniable shift inside you that says, this is it. That's the answer. But if your mind is too busy calculating, controlling, or questioning, you'll miss it. Silence doesn't mean doing nothing. It means allowing everything. It means becoming receptive, not reactive. It means letting go of your timeline and your methods and your conditions, and resting in the knowing that something higher is already working on your behalf. It is in that surrender, in that quiet allowing, that the answer arises. Desire is always answered in the quiet because that's where your true self speaks. The surface self, the one that fears, doubts, and complains, only creates static. But the deeper self, the eternal self, speaks softly. It says, "Be still. You've already received. Just listen." And when you do, when you finally allow your mind to quiet and your spirit to rise, you hear the answer that was always waiting for you. Not as a scream, not as a struggle, but as a gentle confirmation that all is well and all is coming. So don't look for your answer in the noise. Go into the silence, because that's where your desire has already been fulfilled. Stillness is not weakness, it is wisdom in action. When you become still, you move in the most powerful way possible, inward. You stop wrestling with life, stop debating with your own mind, and stop exhausting yourself with strategies and timelines. In stillness, you bypass the gatekeeper, the analytical, skeptical conscious mind, and enter directly into the creative chamber of the subconscious, where reality is shaped and molded. This is the hidden secret behind manifestation. The transformation doesn't come through force. It comes through quiet influence. The conscious mind is loud. It wants evidence, logic, guarantees. It wants to know how and when everything will happen. But this demand for control is the very thing that creates resistance. The more you try to force an outcome through thought and effort, the more you reinforce the idea that you don't yet have what you want. And so your subconscious, ever loyal to your dominant belief, repeats that lack. Stillness is how you slip past that resistance. When you stop trying to convince yourself and start simply being still, you enter a deeper space of knowing. You don't have to argue with your doubts or wrestle your fears. You simply let them fall quiet. And in that quiet, a new idea takes root. An idea not of effort, but of already having. Stillness is the state where the seed is planted without interference. You don't have to keep digging it up to see if it's growing. You place it, you feel it, and you rest in it. Silence doesn't argue. It doesn't explain. It doesn't defend. It just is. And that's why it's so powerful. In that stillness, you send a signal to the subconscious that this new belief, this new identity is safe to accept. And once it accepts it, the world around you begins to mirror that inner acceptance. You may think you're doing nothing by becoming still, but in truth, you're doing the most important thing, creating space. Space for the new to arrive. Space for the subconscious to absorb without resistance. Space for the invisible to become visible. When you are still, you are not asking, you are assuming. And assumption is the highest form of creation. You are no longer begging life for change, you are embodying it. You are not affirming desperately, you are knowing quietly. And that knowing, unshaken and calm, speaks louder than any word you could shout. You do not need to work harder, you need to surrender more deeply. The greatest shifts happen when the mind goes quiet and the soul speaks clearly. You don't need to make the thing happen, you only need to become the space where it's allowed to appear. So stop forcing, stop proving, stop pushing. Instead, get still, let the conscious mind fall silent. Let the doubts dissolve in the stillness. Because in that sacred quiet, the subconscious receives your vision like a command, and the world responds accordingly. Silence is not empty. It is the most fertile space from which all creation emerges. While the world teaches you to speak, to act, to do more in order to get more, true creation begins not in words or effort, but in pure awareness. Silence is the womb of manifestation. It is the realm where form takes shape, where the invisible becomes visible, where the imagined becomes reality. You do not need to speak your desires aloud 1,000 times. You only need to dwell in the silent knowing that it already is. Creation is not about volume, it is about vibration. And silence is the highest vibrational state because it is free from resistance, free from contradiction, free from ego. In silence, there is no argument, no fear, no negotiation. There is only the observer. And what the observer sees inwardly becomes what is seen outwardly. This is the secret. What you observe in silence, you summon. You do not summon through struggle, you summon through still awareness, not through demand, but through presence. When you close your eyes and dwell in the feeling of already having, without speaking it, without chasing it, something powerful begins to shift. Your silent observation becomes a seed, and your consistent awareness of that seed waters it. This is not effort, it is alignment. The more you silently know, the faster it appears. Your words are secondary. They only express what you already believe. But in silence, you bypass the noise and connect directly to belief itself. And belief, pure, silent belief, is the foundation of creation. You don't have to convince anyone. You don't even have to convince yourself with repetition. You simply observe and feel in silence, and the universe echoes it back. Think of how all great shifts in nature begin silently. The sunrise, the growth of a tree, the turning of the tides, the changing of seasons, all happen without sound. Yet all are profoundly powerful. Your inner world works the same. When you learn to dwell in silence, not emptiness, but conscious silence, you activate the same force. Many people miss their manifestations because they're too loud in their energy. They beg, plead, worry, and talk endlessly about what they want. But all of that noise reflects doubt. Silence, on the other hand, reflects certainty. And the universe responds to certainty like a magnet. What you calmly know in silence becomes what must unfold in your experience. Any billionth but gravitation are 6.66 times greater than the 6.666, than the 6.66. You don't need to force the universe to respond. You only need to become aware. Hold the picture. Feel the scene. Rest in the mood of fulfillment. Say nothing and feel everything. In that space, creation begins. So trust the quiet. Enter it often. Sit with your desires not as wishes, but as realities you're simply remembering. Creation doesn't need your words, it needs your awareness. And what you observe in silence, you do not chase. It comes. You were never meant to struggle for what is already yours. The jackpot, the wealth, the love, the peace, is not something you chase, it is something you allow. And allowance begins in silence. When you become still, you hear. When you hear, you align. And in that alignment, the invisible becomes visible. You no longer argue with your doubts or force your desires into form. You rest. You listen, you observe. And in that sacred silence, you create. This is the secret. Silence brings the jackpot, not through noise, not through effort, but through presence. When your mind stops struggling, when your heart stops begging, and when your soul starts listening, everything you want begins to move toward you, not slowly, but swiftly, because you are no longer in the way. You are in harmony with the infinite, and that harmony draws the jackpot right into your hands, saying thanks. Thank you for choosing silence today, for letting go of the noise and tuning into the truth. Your jackpot is not coming, it's already here. Just listen. There is a moment, quiet, still, and sacred, when the jackpot appears. But not because you chased it, not because you spoke it endlessly. It arrives when you became it inwardly, and then you went silent. You see, most people think manifestation is about constant motion, asking, scripting, repeating. But there's a deeper truth, one that very few understand. Manifestation responds to the quiet certainty of the inner man, not the frantic noise of the outer world. It's easy to talk about your desire, it's easy to explain it to others, but do you feel it real? Do you walk in the end of it? Or are you still begging the world to give it to you? The jackpot, whether it's wealth, love, healing, or purpose, does not come to the one who shouts the loudest. It comes to the one who has already received it within. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not passivity. Silence is power. It is the point where the world can no longer distract you from your inner truth. It is where your assumption settles into fact. Have you ever had a moment when you stopped talking about it, stopped journaling, stopped explaining, and suddenly it came? That was not a coincidence. That was your spirit aligning with the truth that it is already done. When you go silent, not out of doubt, but from confidence, you signal to the universe, I have it. There's nothing more to discuss. And in that moment, something shifts. The energy changes. Your vibration stabilizes. You no longer want it, it's yours. And the physical world, like a faithful servant, moves to confirm what you now silently know. The jackpot manifests when you stop checking the clock, when you stop talking about it to others, when you enter the scene in your imagination and remain there without resistance, in silence. Stillness is not the absence of activity, it is the presence of full embodiment. When you are being, there is nothing left to ask. You don't plant a seed and keep digging it up. You leave it in the dark, in the still, in the soul. And that silence is what brings it to life. Go quiet, go within, and become the man or woman who already holds the winning ticket. Not because you said it, but because you are it. Remember, the jackpot is not out there. It is not won. It is accepted, claimed, and it shows up when you no longer need to make a sound. True creation begins not with sound, but with silence. It begins not in the frantic efforts of the mind, nor in the loud demands made of the world, but in that still and sacred space within, where nothing is spoken, and yet everything is known. It is in this silence that the true seed of your desire is planted, and where it is nurtured by the very presence of your being. Here it is, beyond. Most people believe that to create is to strive, to chase, to constantly ask. They flood their minds with affirmations, their journals with declarations, and their days with endless repetition of what they want. But there is a deeper mystery, known only to those who have discovered the power of stillness. For it is not through speaking that the universe is commanded, but through being. And being is born in silence. Silence is not empty. It is full, pregnant with creation. It is the place where the invisible takes form, where the formless becomes shaped by consciousness. In silence, all distractions fall away. The opinions of others no longer crowd your mind. The need to explain yourself disappears. The urge to chase dissolves. And in that emptiness, something begins to stir. The outer world is loud. It screams of lack, of delay, of reasons why it hasn't happened yet. But the inner world is quiet and yet all-powerful. When you enter that inner silence, not to beg, not to seek, but simply to dwell in the state of your wish fulfilled, you are stepping into the true seat of creation. Here you do not ask for the thing you desire, you become it. The silence becomes your sanctuary. The moment you stop talking about it, stop trying to convince yourself or others, and simply rest in the knowing, the creation begins. You are not waiting for the world to give it to you. You are giving it to yourself by assuming the state of already having received. That assumption, felt quietly and deeply, becomes the command to the universe. Do not mistake silence for passivity. Silence is the most active force in the world when it is born from inner conviction. The one who is truly silent is not lost. They are focused. They are aligned. They are no longer wavering between doubt and belief. They are no longer needing evidence. Every great manifestation begins with a moment of stillness, a pause, a breath, a quiet choice to turn within and see what cannot yet be seen with the outer eye. In this space, the world has no hold on you. You are free. Free to imagine, free to become, free to create without interference. In silence, the seed is planted, it grows in the dark. It is nourished not by effort, but by certainty. And when the time is right, it bursts through the soil of physical reality, not because you pushed it, but because you trusted it. Silence is the womb of creation. Guard it, honor it, retreat into it daily. And within that holy silence, allow yourself to become the one who already has what you once only dreamed of. Desire is not meant to be explained, argued for, or validated by others. It is meant to be felt deeply, vividly, and completely. Talking about a desire often becomes a form of delay, a way of keeping it outside yourself. The mind wants to describe, dissect, and understand, but the soul already knows. The soul feels, and that feeling is the only thing required to call it into being. When you speak endlessly about what you want, you are often revealing that you do not yet have it. Words can become a mask for doubt. You say, I want this, or I'm working on manifesting that, because you have not yet stepped into the state of already having it. But desire, when it is truly alive, does not demand verbal confirmation. It becomes a silent certainty. It moves from concept to embodiment, and embodiment happens through feeling. To feel your desire real is to step into the version of you who no longer longs for it, because they live in the experience of it. You do not need to explain to the world why you deserve it. You do not need to justify it, rationalize it, or earn it. You only need to feel it in your imagination so completely that it becomes natural. And once it feels natural, it becomes inevitable. Most people seek proof before they allow themselves to feel fulfilled. They say, when I see it, I'll believe it, but true manifestation works in reverse. You must believe it before you see it. And belief is not mental noise. It is emotional knowing. It is the deep inner alignment with the end result. Even when no outer evidence exists, there is immense power in closing your eyes, silencing the world, and stepping into the scene where your desire is already real. You do not speak it, you live it. You breathe in the air of that new reality. You touch it, taste it, and rest in it as if it were the only truth. That feeling is what impresses the subconscious. That inner knowing is what shapes the world around you. It is not the repetition of words that brings your desire to life. It is the repetition of experience within. The mind may repeat affirmations, but the body must feel the fulfillment. Until your inner self walks in the end, the outer world cannot reflect it. But the moment you assume the state of the wish fulfilled, not with effort, but with quiet conviction, you become the cause of what the world calls a miracle. The person who truly feels their desire no longer needs to talk about it. They radiate it. They walk differently. They think differently. And soon they live differently. Because they no longer identify with the lack of it, they become a match to its presence. So step away from the need to explain. Let others wonder. Let the world ask. You do not owe anyone your process. You only owe yourself the feeling of already being the one who has it. In that silent inner state where the desire is felt as real and natural, everything begins to rearrange. The world cannot help but reflect what you have become. The world does not respond to your words, your effort, or your pleading. It responds to your silent assumptions, those quiet truths you hold within yourself, whether consciously or unconsciously. You may shout your desires from the rooftops, tell everyone what you're working toward, and fill notebooks with affirmations, but if, in the depth of your being, you still assume lack, fear, or delay, that is what the world will reflect back to you. Life is a mirror, and the reflection is not shaped by volume or effort. It is shaped by your state of being, what you have quietly accepted as real, what you have emotionally assumed as already done. This is why silence holds more power than noise. In silence, the facade falls away. The outer performance ceases. What remains is the truth you are dwelling in. And that truth becomes your life. You do not have to convince the world of your worthiness. You do not have to beg the universe for a blessing. When you assume, in silence, that you already are what you seek, the world begins to comply. The people, circumstances, and opportunities start to shift, not because you forced them, but because you changed the signal you are sending out. Many misunderstand silence. They think silence is inaction, passivity, or surrender in the negative sense. But silence, when grounded in inner certainty, is the most powerful form of action there is. It is the invisible command that reshapes reality. When you quietly accept that your desire is already fulfilled, you no longer act from desperation, you act from confidence. You move from knowing, you walk as though it is already yours because inwardly it is. What you assume in your imagination, what you embody without needing to declare it to the world, that is the seed of manifestation. A man may say he wants wealth, but if he still feels like the poor man inside, the world will continue to reflect lack. A woman may say she desires love, but if she assumes abandonment or unworthiness, that assumption will color every relationship. The mirror never lies. It only reveals. This is why the work is always internal. You do not need to fix the world. You only need to fix the image you hold within. Change your assumption, and the reflection must follow. And that assumption is not formed by repetition alone. It is formed by feeling. It is made real when you step into the inner knowing in silence that it is already done. Silence is not the absence of life. It is where life is born. It is the stillness before the wave, the quiet before the manifestation. In that sacred silence, you are not waiting, you are becoming. And when you become it within, the world cannot help but follow suit. So withdraw from the noise, cease the endless declarations, go inward. Find that place where your desire already lives and rest there. Assume it quietly, confidently, and completely. The world will not respond to what you say. It will respond to what you are. There comes a moment in every true act of creation when the noise fades, the struggle ceases, and the inner world falls into stillness. That stillness is not emptiness. It is a signal. It tells you the work is done. The feeling has been accepted. The desire has been claimed. You no longer need to reach for it. because something within has already received it. This is not a place of waiting, it is a place of having, and it arrives not with excitement or urgency, but with a deep, steady peace. The mind, so often consumed with questions, how, when, why, begins to grow quiet. The urgency to control or fix things melts away. The inner noise that once doubted, questioned, and demanded begins to lose its power, and what remains is stillness. But this stillness is not passive. It is rich, it is alive. It is the surest sign that the seed of your desire has taken root. You do not need to see immediate evidence in the outer world to know that manifestation has begun. You only need to feel the inner shift. When your heart is full, when you can rest in the joy of having, even before it appears, then you are in the state of fulfillment. That is the end. That is the answer. Creation does not require constant repetition or effort once the seed has been planted. A farmer does not return to the soil every hour to dig up what he planted. He knows that once the seed is placed in the earth, it is being worked on in the unseen. In the same way, when your inner world reaches that point of calm assurance, when the thought of your desire brings a smile, not a craving, you are done. The stillness confirms it. This is not the same as giving up or letting go in defeat. It is the surrender of faith, not the surrender of despair. It is the kind of letting go that only happens when you know something is already yours. You have felt it. You have walked in the end, and now you no longer need to strive. The feeling has been accepted by your deeper self, and the outer world is already on its way to catch up. Silence, in this context, is not the absence of thought. It is the presence of knowing. It is the inner quiet that says, I have it. Without speaking, without effort, you dwell in the feeling of completion. You no longer look for signs, because you are the sign. Your stillness is the proof that your assumption has become your identity. The world may not yet see what you see. That's irrelevant. Manifestation is not about convincing others. It is about embodying the truth within. And when you are truly still, truly full, the echo of your fulfillment begins to reverberate outward. Life rearranges itself around your state of being. So when you feel that stillness rise within you, honor it. That is the sacred moment, that is the signal. The desire has been received, the shift has occurred, and now all you must do is remain in the knowing. The silence is the seal. The seed is planted. The outcome is assured. The outcome is assured. There is a great misunderstanding about the power of words when it comes to manifestation. People believe that the more they talk about their desires, the closer they are to them. They share their dreams, explain their goals, seek validation, and endlessly affirm what they want. But in truth, constant talking often reveals that the desire has not yet been accepted within. It is still separate, it is still a wish, not a reality. And as long as you keep speaking about it without embodying it, you are delaying its arrival. Talking can easily become a way to keep what you want at arm's length. It's as if you are rehearsing a role you hope to play someday rather than stepping into the identity of the person who already has the role. You explain your vision to others, but inside, you are still uncertain. You haven't won the feeling of it being real. You haven't entered the state of fulfillment. And until you do, the outer world cannot mirror it back to you. Manifestation does not come from saying the right words. It comes from occupying the right state. And that state is reached through feeling, not speaking. Words can point to the desire, but only feeling brings it home. When you feel it real, when you live the inner experience of having, being, or doing the thing you want, it begins to manifest without noise, quietly, naturally, effortlessly. There's something powerful that happens when you go silent, when you stop explaining, when you stop needing others to understand or agree. In that silence, you shift from seeking to being. You no longer look for signs, you become the sign. You no longer talk about becoming wealthy, you move, breathe, and feel as the one who already is. And that feeling is what sets everything in motion. This is not about denial or repression. It is about embodiment. The person who has already received does not need to keep announcing it. The winner does not convince others they have won, they live it. When you internalize your desire so completely that it becomes part of your identity, it starts to show up externally. And often it does so when you least expect it, because you're no longer looking for it. You are it. Talking is a sign of reaching outward. Feeling is a sign of reaching inward. The moment you cross over from discussion to embodiment, the manifestation process accelerates. The jackpot finds you, not because you chased it, but because you aligned with it. In stillness, in certainty, in feeling. You don't need to explain what you're creating. You don't need to announce your transformation. You only need to feel the reality of it within you so clearly, so consistently, that the world has no choice but to mirror it. Let silence become your companion. Let feeling be your language. Let the outer world remain uninformed while your inner world becomes alive. The desire fulfilled is not something you talk about, it's something you live. And once you live it inside, it becomes undeniable outside. Manifestation does not happen when you cling, beg, or chase. It happens when you release, not from hopelessness but from fulfillment. When you finally let go, not because you've given up, but because you no longer need it, you have entered the sacred space of detachment. And in that space, everything begins to unfold. Detachment is not coldness. It is not disinterest. It is not apathy. It is inner completion. It is the deep realization that what you desire is already yours, and therefore there is nothing left to seek. You stop needing it because you already feel the joy, the satisfaction, the identity of being the person who possesses it. And from that space of wholeness, manifestation occurs naturally, effortlessly, silently. Neediness pushes your desire away. It announces lack. It tells the subconscious that what you want is still separate, still out there, still not here. The more you long for it, the more you place it in the future, the more you talk about someday, the further away that day becomes. But when you shift into detachment, when you feel so secure, so full, so convinced within, there is no more waiting. You have already arrived. This inner shift is subtle yet powerful. You may still desire something, but you are no longer desperate for it. You are no longer searching for evidence, asking for signs, or doubting your worthiness. You've crossed the invisible line from wanting to knowing. You've stopped knocking on doors and started walking through them in your imagination. And this is where silence becomes sacred. Silence is not surrender to failure. It is surrender to fulfillment. It is entering the state where nothing more is required. You are not passive. You are not idle. You are still. And that stillness is filled with the energy of having. The jackpot does not come to the one who is loud, restless, or constantly trying to make it happen. It comes to the one who has already accepted it internally. the one who has walked in the end, tasted the feeling of the outcome, and now moves through life with calm certainty. This detachment is not absence, it is presence. It is total absorption in the state of the wish fulfilled. You stop checking the clock, you stop needing reassurance, you stop asking whether it's working. Why? Because in your world, it already has. And when that feeling becomes natural, when it becomes your resting place, the world begins to bend to match it. Life starts to organize itself around your inner truth. Manifestation happens in that moment when you detach, not because you don't care, but because you care so much that you become one with your desire. You no longer talk about it, you live it, even if no one else sees it yet. You do, and that's enough. That's everything. So trust the process. Trust the silence. Let go of the need and let in the knowing. When you feel that nothing more is needed, when you detach from outcome because the outcome already feels real within you, that's when it arrives. That's when the jackpot appears. Not by force, but by your quiet alignment with truth. The jackpot does not arrive through noise, striving, or endless declarations. It manifests through silence, stillness, and inner certainty. When you stop explaining, when you detach from the need to make it happen, and when you quietly assume your desire as already fulfilled, the universe has no choice but to reflect that back to you. The silent state of having is the true cause of every manifestation. It is in this quiet, confident inner world where the real magic happens. Not in the effort, but in the embodiment. The moment you feel it real and rest in stillness, the jackpot finds you. Swaitu, thanks. Thank you for taking the time to receive these words with an open heart. May you return often to the stillness within and walk each day knowing the power of your quiet assumption. Everything you desire is already yours. Feel it, become it, and rest in the silence that creates worlds. There is no distance between you and wealth, except the illusion of time and disbelief. The moment you remove both, manifestation becomes immediate. This is not wishful thinking, this is spiritual law. And when you truly understand it, wealth can appear in your world in just 2 days or less. You do not need to become wealthy, you already are. Your only task is to remove the layers of identity that keep you from seeing this truth. Think of it this way. You are standing in a room full of treasure, but the lights are off. The wealth is not far, it is just unseen. The moment you flick the switch of assumption, the riches become visible. 2 days is not too short. For the unseen, 2 days is eternity. The moment you saturate your mind with the feeling of already being wealthy, already having more than enough, your world begins to mold itself around that belief. How do you do it? Withdraw your attention from what is and place it entirely on what you have declared to be yours. You must refuse to entertain lack even for a moment. You must walk, speak, breathe, and think as though your reality has shifted. Because it has. It simply hasn't caught up to your senses yet. And what are your senses, if not the echo of an old belief? Ignore them. Do not wait for confirmation. Be the confirmation. Assume the tone of wealth. Feel the softness of abundance. Smile at the balance that you cannot yet see, but know is already on its way. The outer follows the inner without fail. The only thing that delays it is your tendency to peek, to doubt, to question the how. But the how is not your concern. The state is, the feeling is, the imagination is. For 2 days, become obsessed, not with money, but with the version of you who no longer craves it, the one who has it, the one who gives generously, thinks limitlessly, and sleeps peacefully. If you can dwell in that identity for 48 hours without stepping out of it, You will witness what others call miracles. The world will mirror your new conviction. Opportunities will emerge, messages will arrive, solutions will unfold. You will not need to chase, you will attract. You will not strive, you will allow. Your work is not to push, but to believe. Your tool is not effort, but awareness. In just 2 days of radical inner conviction, you can collapse time. You can bend the rules. You can rewrite your financial destiny. Why? Because you are the author. Always have been. You do not need to chase wealth. Earn it in the way the world tells you, or struggle to force it into your life. The truth is far simpler and far more powerful. Wealth is not something created from the outside. It is something revealed from within. You are not becoming rich. You are waking up to the fact that you already are. There exists within you a version of yourself who lacks nothing, a self who lives abundantly, thinks limitlessly, and walks through life with complete ease and financial freedom. That self is not a fantasy. It is a reality in the unseen, a spiritual reality waiting for your recognition. The only reason you do not see the wealth in your current experience is because you have not yet fully identified with the version of yourself who already has it. The world teaches you to earn, to hustle, to work hard for years to receive scraps of abundance, but spiritual law reveals another path. Assume the state and the state will express itself. Everything begins within. You do not manifest wealth by striving, but by becoming. You become it internally first, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Then the outer world simply reveals what you've already accepted as true. When you finally understand that wealth is a state of consciousness, you stop trying to make things happen. You stop begging reality to change. Instead, you shift your identity, you align your thoughts, your feelings, and your assumptions with the version of yourself who is already wealthy. You begin to think how they would think. You feel how they would feel. You respond to life with the confidence and calm of someone who knows there is always more than enough. Respond to life by the connections and confidence of those who, many of them, hope they would always be enough. In that moment, everything changes. The veil of lack lifts, and you begin to perceive new pathways, new people, new opportunities that were always there, but hidden from your view, while you lived in the consciousness of limitation. It is not that these things suddenly appeared. They were revealed, uncovered by the light of your new awareness. Wealth then is not a reward. It is a reflection. It is not something given, it is something realized. The riches you desire are already part of your divine inheritance, coded into your spiritual DNA. But they can only become visible when you claim them in consciousness. You don't get wealthy by doing more. You get wealthy by knowing more, by knowing the truth of who you really are. When you remember your power, when you live from the end, when you no longer negotiate with doubt or delay, the outer world must obey your inner command. All transformation is a return. You are not chasing a life that is far away. You are waking up to the life that's been yours all along. You are not manifesting from emptiness, but from fullness, from the infinite reservoir of supply that lives within. Wealth is not far, it is not distant, it is simply dormant. The moment you stop striving and start remembering, the revelation begins. And in that sacred revelation, everything you've ever desired comes rushing forward, not as a surprise, but as a confirmation of what you finally dared to believe. Time, as you understand it, is only relevant to the senses. It exists to give structure to a physical world that is governed by seasons, cycles, and clocks. But in the unseen, the true reality, time holds no authority. What you call a process, the infinite knows as a moment. What you call too soon, the unseen recognizes as now. There is no delay in the spiritual realm, only your assumption of delay. When you understand this, You stop asking how long it will take. You stop calculating hours, days, and weeks, and begin asking a more powerful question. How deeply am I willing to assume that it is already done? Because it is not time that delivers the result. It is your inner state. You could live in the wish unfulfilled for years, or you could enter the feeling of fulfillment for 2 days and change everything. There is no difference between 2 days and 2 years, except your belief about what's possible. The infinite does not need time to rearrange the elements of your world. It does not work according to logic or effort. It works through alignment. Once you are aligned with the state of the wish fulfilled, completely, unquestionably, and emotionally, time bends, compresses, even disappears. 2 days is not too soon for the infinite. In fact, it may be all that is required if your assumption is pure, sustained, and unwavering. But here lies the challenge. Can you hold the state? Can you dwell for 48 hours in the knowing that it is already yours without contradicting it by checking, doubting, or wishing? Can you resist the urge to peek, to question, to ask if it's working? This is not about performance. It is about persistence. Not outer persistence, but inner stillness. A settled heart. An unwavering imagination. A spirit that refuses to move from the end. If you can live as if it has already happened, if you can walk, speak, and feel from that place, then the law must respond. It has no choice. It mirrors your assumption. The outer world always takes the shape of your dominant inner state. So if for just 2 days you choose to embody wealth, to dwell in abundance, to trust that everything is unfolding now, not later, not someday, but now, you will find that circumstances shift without warning. Unexpected money arrives, old doors open, new paths form, not because you made it happen, but because you finally stopped blocking what was already yours. Time becomes irrelevant when you operate from the end. You are no longer waiting, you are welcoming. You are not hoping, you are knowing. You are not asking, you are claiming. Understand this truth deeply. The infinite is not slow, it is precise. It does not delay, it delivers exactly when your assumption is complete. 2 days of total belief can do more than 2 decades of effort. So if you desire rapid change, the key is not urgency, but surrender. Not rushing, but resting. In the fulfilled feeling of your desire, the clock does not run your life, your consciousness does. So step into the end, hold it for 2 days without interruption, and watch how fast the world begins to obey. To live in the end means to dwell in the result, to reside in the consciousness of your fulfilled desire, without waiting for external proof. It is the secret known only to those who create reality rather than react to it. When you live in the end of the wealthy version of yourself, you are not trying to become rich. You are already rich in your imagination, in your emotions, in your identity, and the world must conform to that assumption. This is not a mental game or wishful daydreaming. It is a radical shift in consciousness. You no longer think about what it would be like to have wealth. You think from it. You no longer hope for a better life. You begin to embody the one who already lives that life. You speak as they would speak, move as they would move, rest as they would rest. You don't pursue it, you possess it in your inner world. Why is this so powerful? Because your world is not responding to your wishes. It is responding to your state. Every moment you are occupying a state of being, and that state is what the universe mirrors back to you. If you live in lack, even while dreaming of abundance, the result you will experience is still lack. But if you inhabit abundance inwardly, if you feel from the place of already having it, then abundance becomes inevitable. This is why you must feel from the result, not toward it. To feel toward it is to reinforce the absence. It is to say, it's not here yet, but I hope it comes. That posture delays the very thing you desire. But to feel from the result is to say, it is done. I am it. I have it. And that posture is irresistible to the creative power of the universe. It must reflect that back to you. Ask yourself, how would I feel if money were no longer an issue? What thoughts would I think if I already had everything paid off? If I already lived in my dream home? If my accounts were overflowing? Let those thoughts dominate your inner dialogue. Let those feelings be the atmosphere of your being. You are not imagining for fun, you are imagining to rewire your reality. Living in the end is the act of becoming before seeing. It is faith in motion, it is trust without evidence, and it is the fastest way to change your outer world. The moment you make the inner shift and truly claim the state of being wealthy, you set into motion a series of events that will shock you with their precision. Resources appear, people align, circumstances shift, and it's not because you worked harder, but because you finally believed. Don't wait for money to feel secure. Feel secure now. Don't wait for success to feel confident. Embody that confidence today. Don't wait for validation. Validate yourself with the awareness of who you already are in the unseen. You are not manifesting wealth, you are remembering it. You are awakening to the version of you who always had it. And the moment you live in the end, without contradiction, without stepping back into the old story, the world will rise up to meet your new identity. Imagination is the womb of reality. Everything you see, touch, and experience in your outer world was first born in the invisible realm of thought and feeling. But it is not enough to simply imagine. Many people imagine wealth, success, and freedom, yet see no change in their lives. Why? Because their imagination is not fused with certainty. It is poisoned by doubt, and doubt delays. You cannot hold two opposing beliefs and expect manifestation to be swift. The power of imagination is activated through conviction, not curiosity. To imagine a thing and then question its arrival is to plant a seed and immediately dig it up, wondering if it's growing. Imagination must be steady. It must be occupied by certainty, by the unwavering assumption that what you see within is more real than what you see without. Understand this. The outer world is simply the reflection of your inner state. It is not the cause, but the effect. When your imagination is filled with pictures of abundance, but your heart is filled with questions and hesitation, the signal becomes mixed. The universe responds not to your desire, but to your belief. If belief wavers, manifestation wavers. If certainty stands firm, reality bends to meet it. This is why the greatest creators live from the knowing that it is done. They do not wait for signs, they do not need reassurance. They create in the unseen and rest in that creation. Imagination is their blueprint, and faith is the foundation. Together they collapse time and bring forth results that defy logic. You must become still enough to hear the inner voice that says, "It is already yours." Then you must trust that voice more than the noise of the world. You must protect your inner vision from the interference of circumstance. Circumstances are not permanent. They are projections of old beliefs. Your task is not to analyze them, but to replace them with new ones born from certainty. So ask yourself, is your imagination directed by faith or hijacked by fear? Do you spend more time visualizing success or worrying about failure? Because both are acts of imagination. One creates and the other destroys. You cannot afford to doubt, not if you want speed, not if you want results that seem supernatural. When your imagination becomes occupied by certainty, your energy shifts. You begin to think, speak, and act in alignment with the version of you who already has what they desire. And because the world is a mirror, it reflects that confidence right back to you in the form of resources, relationships, and opportunities. Faith is not passivity, it is an active choice to persist in your vision, no matter what appears to be. It is the bold declaration, what I have imagined is more real to me than what I see. And that kind of imagination, rooted in certainty, moves mountains. So hold your image, protect it, nourish it with conviction. Walk through the day with the quiet inner knowing that all you've seen within is already forming without. For the one who imagines with faith, manifestation is not a matter of if, but when. And often that when comes faster than the world says is possible. The greatest secret to manifesting wealth is not found in endless action, hustle, or external effort. It lies in something far quieter, more internal, yet infinitely more powerful: assumption. You are not here to fight for abundance. You are here to assume the identity of the one who already lives it, and allow the outer world to mirror that identity back to you. The power is never in the action. The power is always in the state you occupy while taking it. Assumption is the silent force that governs manifestation. It is the quiet inner stance that says, I already am, I already have, I already live it. When you move through life with that consciousness, life cannot help but yield to you. You are no longer trying to become, you are. And that difference changes everything. Too many people live in the illusion that they must earn their way into wealth as though money were a reward for effort. But the truth is, effort without alignment leads to frustration. You can work night and day, take all the courses, try all the strategies, and still remain stuck if your assumption contradicts your desire. The world is not responding to what you want. It is responding to what you believe yourself to already be. If you assume wealth, your words change, your posture changes, your energy becomes still and confident. You begin to walk through life with the ease of someone who is not trying to prove anything. There is no begging in your spirit, no desperation in your tone. You radiate ownership, and that energy draws in opportunities, people, and ideas that match it. Assumption is not about pretending, it is about embodying. You are not faking it, you are awakening to it. You are remembering that what you seek is already yours in the unseen, and your assumption is the bridge that brings it into form. The moment you take possession of that identity, life must follow. This is why assumption is more powerful than action. Actions can lie. You can do all the right things from a place of fear, insecurity, or lack, and receive nothing. But assumption cannot lie. It is the root, the vibration, the blueprint. When assumption is pure, the actions that flow from it are effortless and inspired. They are not born of struggle but of knowing. You do not move to get results, you move because results are inevitable. So let go of the need to grind your way into abundance. Stop measuring your progress by how hard you're working. Begin instead to measure by how deeply you've assumed the truth of who you are. Begin each day not by asking, what must I do, but by declaring, this is who I am. The wealthy version of you is not someone far off in the distance. It is already alive within you. The moment you stop trying to reach it and instead assume it as your reality, everything changes. Life bends, money flows, doors open, not because you chased them, but because you became the one who attracts them. Assumption is your true power. Use it. Let the world conform. Let results come to you, not as a surprise, but as a reflection of what you've dared to believe. You have been told that success takes years, that wealth comes only to those who hustle endlessly, grind tirelessly, and sacrifice everything. But that is only true for those who believe it. In truth, your outer world does not respond to effort alone. It responds to inner conviction. The invisible knowing, the spiritual certainty that what you desire is already yours. And if you can hold that conviction purely, unwaveringly, for just 48 hours, 2 full days, the physical realm will begin to shape itself around your belief. This is not about doing more. It is about being more rooted, more certain, more aligned. It is about stepping into a reality within and refusing to step out of it. You are not chasing wealth. You are not begging for it. You are declaring it done and choosing to remain in the atmosphere of that decision, regardless of what the senses say. 2 days of total assumption can undo years of fear-based striving. Because the spiritual law is not activated by time, but by truth. The moment your belief becomes unshakable, the bridge of incidents begins to form. Not because you earned it through labor, but because you commanded it through alignment. Ask yourself, can I hold the vision for just 2 days? Can I silence the inner noise, ignore appearances, and dwell entirely in the consciousness of the wealthy version of myself? Not visiting it from time to time, but living there, breathing there, speaking from there. This kind of persistence is rare not because it's difficult, but because most people are addicted to checking their current reality. They plant the seed of desire, but dig it up with doubt. They declare abundance, but contradict it with worry an hour later. They say, I am wealthy, and then spend the rest of the day wondering how the money will come. But if for 48 hours you can live in the end without interruption, you will witness power that most never touch. You will become magnetic. People, ideas, and opportunities will begin to show up without effort. The world will appear to bend in your favor because it must. It cannot disobey the one who has assumed the state completely. This is not about forcing results. It's about surrendering to what is already done. You do not demand manifestation, you align with it. An alignment is immediate when belief is pure. You could wait 10 years for something, and it may never come. Or you could spend 2 days in total conviction and watch it unfold before you. Do not underestimate what happens when you stop wobbling between states, when you stop hoping and start knowing, when you move from wishing to being. That shift is everything, and it is the key to accelerated manifestation. So test it. For 2 days, refuse to leave the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Wake up in it. Walk in it. Speak from it. Fall asleep in it, and no matter what comes, no matter how ordinary things may look, hold your ground. Because if you do, the physical realm will obey. It has no choice but to reflect the one who dares to believe that it is already so. Wealth is not something you chase. It is something you reveal by aligning with the version of you who already possesses it. In just 2 days, if you can persist in the state of inner knowing without allowing doubt to disrupt your assumption, life will begin to shift in ways that appear miraculous. You are not dependent on time, effort, or chance. You are only dependent on your state of being. Assume the wealth. Live in the end. Let your imagination be filled with certainty, and trust that the unseen moves faster than anything you could accomplish through hustle alone. 2 days of unwavering belief is enough to open the floodgates of abundance. Not because of what you do, but because of who you decide to be. So stay there. Dwell there. For just 48 hours, claim your wealth, not as a hope, but as a fact. The moment you stop reaching for it and start being it, the physical world will respond. It always does. Sincerely, thank you for listening. May these words take root, awaken your awareness, and usher in the wealth that has always belonged to you. There is a shift happening within you. Can you feel it? A quiet knowing, a gentle push, not from outside, but from within. Massive wealth has been activated, not in a future time, not in a distant land, but right now within your consciousness. You may not see it with your physical eyes yet, but let me remind you, the unseen creates the seen. Your fortune does not fall from the sky, it rises from the heart that believes. You don't need to chase, beg, or strive. You need only one thing, a willing heart, a heart that believes without proof, a heart that rests while the world races, a heart that knows it is done. You have planted the seed, you have imagined the life, you have felt the abundance, and now the activation has occurred, not by your effort, but by your faith. Now, your only job is to keep your heart open. Open to what, you ask? To the unusual, to the surprising, to the illogical, because massive wealth does not arrive wearing the clothes you expect. It will come disguised in detours, delays, and divine setups. You'll be tempted to question it. You feel doubt knocking. But remember, your circumstances are the past made visible. They are not predictors. They are reflections of old states. Let them go. The moment you say, "It is mine," and you feel it, that moment, the wheels turn. The invisible begins to organize itself into form. The more you open your heart, the faster it flows. Judgment closes it, fear clogs it. But gratitude, peace, and surrender, they open the floodgates. You are not trying to get wealthy, you are aligning with wealth that's already yours. Stop asking how and start saying thank you. Stop watching the clock and start watching your thoughts. Stop reacting to what is and begin responding from what must be. You are the doorway through which wealth walks into this world. So guard your inner speech, watch the stories you tell. Be still when fear rises, rest when anxiety calls, and remember, wealth is a state of being before it is a sum of money. You have stepped into that state, you have crossed the threshold. Do not go back. Let the world call it madness. Let them scoff at your stillness, but you know something they do not. You know that massive wealth is not coming. It has already been activated. It's moving now toward you, through you, for you. And all you must do is keep your heart open. Wealth begins in the invisible first. Long before it enters your bank account, your home, or your hands, it arrives in the quiet chambers of your imagination. Your fortune is not in what your eyes see, for the eyes are always late. They only report what has already been accepted by the mind and received by the heart. This is the divine order of manifestation. First the feeling, then the form. First the unseen, then the seen. There is a dangerous illusion that wealth is something out there, something you must earn, chase, or unlock with struggle. But this is the deception of the senses. If you believe only in what is visible, you are forever a prisoner to circumstance. But if you dare to believe in what your heart knows before your eyes confirm it, you step into mastery. Your reality is shaped not by the world, but by your assumptions about the world. Wealth in its truest form is not measured in coins, credit, or currency. It is measured by consciousness. The poor man can win the lottery and remain poor in spirit, losing it all. But the man who has wealth anchored in his being can walk through a season of lack and still radiate abundance. Why? Because true wealth is internal, not external. The invisible realm of thought, imagination, and belief is where all things are born. The outer world is just a mirror, an echo of your inner convictions. If you want to change the reflection, you don't polish the mirror. You change the image within. That image must be one of wealth, ease, sufficiency, and joy. You must stop asking for permission to feel rich. Stop waiting for money to give you the feeling of security. Choose the feeling first, now, without condition, not because the world says it's time, but because you say it is done. The heart has the power to accept what the mind cannot yet reason. It's not your job to figure out how the wealth will come. Your job is to welcome it into your being, like a guest you already know. You welcome it not as a stranger, but as something familiar, because in truth it is. Wealth is your birthright. Abundance is not outside of you. It is you, fully realized. The mind will resist this truth. Began in someone's invisible world. Every empire, invention, and opportunity was once just an idea, intangible, unseen, but alive. So why would your wealth be any different? Do not wait for proof. Feel the wealth now. Think from the state of the one who already has it. How would you sit, breathe, walk, speak if it were already yours? Go there in consciousness. Dwell in that inner sanctuary until the outer world has no choice but to bend to your belief. The law is simple. You do not receive what you want. You receive what you accept as true. And once you accept that your wealth already exists, even if unseen, it begins to take form. Not because of effort, but because of alignment. So walk with quiet confidence. Let your inner world be rich, even if your outer world has not yet caught up. Because it will, it must. The world is only a servant to the one who believes. Remember, your fortune does not begin in your hands. It begins in your heart. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This is the master key, to live, breathe, and walk as if wealth is not on the way, but already here, already yours, already surrounding you. This is not mere pretending. It is creation in its purest form. To assume the feeling of what you desire is to impress it so deeply upon your consciousness that reality must bend to reflect it. Lion wants to create the feeling of being resistant to feeling that reality does not bend. You are not hoping. You are not asking. You are not waiting. You are being. This is the great secret. The world responds not to what you say, but to who you are, internally, silently, in the theater of your mind. You must become the person who already possesses the wealth, the freedom, the ease. Not one day, not when things improve, now. The feeling is the prayer. Thought alone is not enough. You must feel from the end, not just think about it, not wish for it, but live in it. You must move through your day with the energy of someone who already has what they once longed for. When you walk into a room, carry the stillness of certainty. When you speak, speak from abundance. When you rest, rest as one who is kept, not one who is seeking. This is not delusion, it is alignment. You are aligning your inner world with the frequency of your desire, and because the outer world is always a reflection of your inner state, it has no choice but to conform. Ask yourself, how would I feel if the money were already in my account? If the opportunities were already mine? If the doors had already opened? Go there, close your eyes, and let that feeling rise. Let it become more real than what your eyes see, because what you feel repeatedly becomes the new reality. The greatest error most people make is waiting for circumstances to give them permission to feel wealthy. But the law is reversed. The feeling must come first. When you feel it, you create the cause, and the effect must follow. You are not reacting to life. You are generating life from within. When fear arises, return to the feeling. When doubt whispers it's not here yet, respond with calm assurance, but it is here, in me. When circumstances contradict your inner vision, let them pass like shadows, for shadows have no power against the light of conviction. Do not worry if nothing seems to change immediately. Do not look anxiously for signs. That is the old self begging for proof. The new self walks by inner knowing, not outer evidence. Be still, be faithful, persist in the assumption, and you will see how quickly the outer world reshapes itself. Everything you desire already exists in a dimension unseen. You are not calling it into being. You are tuning yourself to the frequency where it already lives. Like a radio dial, you don't create the station, you simply align with it. So align now, tune into the station where your wish is fulfilled. Walk as the wealthy, speak as the fulfilled, rest as the secure, and let the world catch up to who you've already become. Do not underestimate the power of this. One assumption, held consistently with faith, can reorder your entire reality. The world cannot resist the soul that lives from the end. So, assume it. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Assume the feeling and let your life become the evidence. Keep your heart open to the unexpected. This is where the true miracles live, not in the expected paths or the familiar routines, but in the strange, the unpredictable, the seemingly random. Life does not move according to human logic. It unfolds through divine orchestration. What you desire may not come in the way you envision, but it will come in the way your soul truly needs, if only you remain open. Too often we place limits on our blessings. We ask for a miracle, and then we tell it how to arrive. We want wealth, but only if it comes through this job, this person, or this investment. We want healing, but only if it happens on this timeline. We want answers, but only if they look the way we imagine. In doing so, we shut the door on the very things we've been praying for. Miracles rarely wear name tags. They often appear wrapped in uncertainty, disguised as interruptions, delays, or detours. But behind what seems unwanted is the very breakthrough you've been waiting for. That's why your heart must remain open to the unfamiliar, the unplanned, and the uninvited. The universe does not operate by your calendar or your map. It moves according to alignment, not schedule. You must remember, the delivery of your desire is not your responsibility. Holding the state of receiving is, and that state requires an open heart. A heart that does not panic when the unexpected arrives. A heart that sees with inner eyes. A heart that understands just because it doesn't look like what I wanted doesn't mean it isn't what I need. Life has a way of surprising you when you stop controlling it. The wealth you seek may not come from the job you applied for. It might come from a sudden idea, a random encounter, or an opportunity you almost ignored. The relationship you long for may not walk in through the front door. It might enter through a side window you forgot to leave open. Openness is not passivity, it is power. It is the courage to let go of your limited vision and trust the infinite intelligence that knows more than you ever could. It is the strength to say, even if it comes in a way I didn't expect, I will still receive it with joy. Sometimes what looks like loss is really a setup. Sometimes what feels like rejection is redirection. And sometimes, when things fall apart, they are actually falling into place. But you won't see it unless your heart stays soft, flexible, and available. Do not be so committed to your plan that you miss your provision. You must hold your vision, yes, but hold it with open hands, not clenched fists. Let life surprise you. Let abundance take new forms. Let answers arrive through unfamiliar faces. Your wealth, your breakthrough, your next chapter It's on the way. But the wrapping may not look like anything you expected. Will you still receive it? Will you still give thanks for it? The universe rewards those who walk in trust, not just in strategy. The door you thought was closed may open again, but through a different hallway. The prayer you whispered may be answered in the silence, not the thunder. Keep your heart open to it all. There is no delay in the spiritual realm, only unfolding. And what is unfolding for you is bigger, deeper, and more beautiful than you imagine. Don't judge the process by appearances. Don't let impatience become your blindfold. Stay open, stay soft, stay expectant. Because when your heart is open, the miracle doesn't have to knock, it walks right in. Detach from time and conditions. This is one of the greatest spiritual disciplines a person can learn. To stop measuring the fulfillment of your desire by the ticking of a clock or the turning of a calendar is to begin living in true alignment with divine law. Time is a tool of the physical world, but wealth, true wealth, belongs to the invisible. And in that realm, time holds no power. There is only now, there is only faith. Massive wealth does not respond to urgency. It does not appear because you are anxious or because you've waited a certain number of weeks or months. It flows, not to those who measure time, but to those who lose themselves in trust. It responds to your inner conviction, not your outer pressure. You are not in a race against time, you are in a relationship with truth. And the truth is, what you desire is already complete. The moment you accepted it in consciousness, it was done. But many people sabotage their manifestations by watching the clock. They imagine, they affirm, they believe for a day or a week, and then they look around and see nothing has changed. So they doubt, they question, they undo what they planted. Why? Because they tied the fulfillment to time. They made it conditional. When you do this, you communicate to the universe that you don't really believe it's yours until it shows up. But this contradicts the very principle of faith. Faith says, I have it now. Faith celebrates before there is anything to celebrate. Faith walks and speaks and lives in the state of possession, regardless of what the clock says. Wealth is not created through desperation. It is created through alignment. It is not summoned by counting hours or days. It is attracted by the calm knowing that all things are working in your favor, even when you can't yet see them. You must trust in the unseen, just as much as you trust the sun will rise tomorrow. To detach from time is to step into timelessness, where manifestation is not a future event, but a present reality unfolding in perfect order. The moment you release the need for something to happen by a certain time, you make room for it to happen in the right time, the divine time. Remember, impatience is not a sign that something is taking too long. It's a sign that you've stepped out of faith and into fear. Time becomes heavy only when your belief is weak. But when your conviction is strong, time dissolves. You no longer ask when, because you already know. You already have. This is not denial of reality, it is mastery over it. You are not ignoring time. You are no longer being ruled by it. You are living from the end, and in the end, there is no waiting. There is only being. So let go of the calendar, let go of the pressure, let go of the belief that time is running out or that you've missed your moment. Your moment is always now. Your wealth is always here, just waiting for you to recognize it, without condition, without fear, without the need to control the process. Those who count days will keep waiting, but those who rest in faith will keep receiving, because the one who knows it is done has no need to watch the clock. Detach from time, detach from conditions. Detach from every thought that says you must earn it or chase it. You are not waiting on wealth. Wealth is waiting on you to stop waiting. Now is the only time you need. And in this moment, all things are possible. Your inner world is the blueprint of your outer experience. Whatever you consistently hold in thought, feeling, and belief must eventually take form in your life. This is a law, unchanging and absolute. You cannot dwell in thoughts of lack, fear, or unworthiness and expect to experience a life of wealth, peace, and abundance. The outer world does not operate independently of your inner state. It is the mirror, not the source. Many people try to manipulate circumstances while neglecting their consciousness. They hustle, force, and strive, hoping that something out there will change. But outer change never lasts when it's not supported by inner transformation. A poor mindset will drain a rich bank account. An anxious heart will sabotage opportunities. A person who secretly believes they are undeserving will unconsciously block every blessing that tries to enter. Everything begins within. If your desire is wealth, your thoughts must no longer revolve around not having. If your desire is freedom, you must no longer speak as one who is stuck. You cannot continue to affirm limitations and expect liberation. You cannot complain about what you lack and expect to attract abundance. The vibration must match. Your emotions are messengers. They reveal your current alignment. When you feel constriction, fear, or scarcity, these are not signs of failure. They are signals that you've drifted from the truth of who you really are. You are not lack. You are not debt. You are not limitation. You are the expression of abundance itself. But until you accept that truth inwardly, life cannot reflect it outwardly. The mistake is thinking you must wait for wealth to feel wealthy. But it's the feeling that comes first. The inner world must move before the outer can respond. You must think like the person who already has what they desire. You must feel into the identity of the one who is already free, already successful, already blessed. This is not wishful thinking. This is conscious creation. You are not pretending when you shift your inner world. You are planting the seeds that must bear fruit. Just as a seed placed in fertile soil grows without effort, so does your outer world blossom from the dominant state of your inner world. But the soil must match the seed. You cannot plant a seed of abundance in a field of doubt and expect it to grow. Your beliefs shape your world more than any action ever will. Actions matter, yes, but they are extensions of belief. When your inner world is aligned with wealth, your actions will naturally reflect that state. You will move from clarity, from trust, and from intuitive wisdom, not from fear or desperation. So begin within. Guard your thoughts. Replace stories of struggle with declarations of strength. Speak from the place of having, not wanting. Give thanks for what is on the way as if it is already arrived. Let your words be an extension of your faith. Let your inner conversations reflect the life you've chosen. If you truly desire transformation, then transformation must begin at the level of identity. Who are you within? Who do you say you are when no one is listening? That is what life hears. That is what the universe responds to. You are not rewarded for working harder. You are rewarded for believing deeper. Your outer world is always catching up to your inner state. If you want more, be more. If you want beauty, think beauty. If you want wealth, embody wealth. Not later, now. Because when your inner world is rich, peaceful, and expansive, your outer world has no choice but to follow. That is the power you hold. Gratitude is not something you express after your desire has been fulfilled. It is the very energy that draws fulfillment to you. Most people believe they must wait until something happens before they give thanks, but that thinking is backward. In the unseen world of spiritual law, Gratitude is not a reaction to what is. It is a powerful creative force that attracts what will be. Gratitude is the door. When you live in it, you live in the flow of abundance. To give thanks before the manifestation appears is to declare, I already have it. It is an inner state that says, I know it is done. This is not delusion. This is divine alignment. You are not thanking out of obligation. You are thanking because you recognize that everything you have asked for is already completed in the invisible. You are tuning yourself to receive. Gratitude lifts your energy out of lack. It cancels the noise of worry. It silences the mind that doubts. When you give thanks in advance, you rise into the atmosphere where miracles become natural. You are no longer waiting, you are welcoming. You are no longer hoping, you are harmonizing with the frequency of the life you desire. But here is the key: it must be sincere. It cannot be forced, nor can it be a trick to get what you want. True gratitude is a vibration, not a tactic. It's not a checklist. It's a lifestyle. It's how you walk, how you breathe, how you meet each moment, with a heart that recognizes the good even when it is not yet visible to the eyes. You must learn to give thanks for the unseen as if it were already seen. That's how faith works. That's how doors open. You must bless the process even when it looks like nothing is moving. Thank the delay, thank the detour, thank the silence. Why? Because all of it is part of the unfolding. The most powerful people in the world are those who can look at what appears to be lack and still declare, I am rich. Who can feel pressure all around them and still whisper, thank you, it is done. That kind of faith, that kind of gratitude rearranges reality. Gratitude also multiplies what you already have. When you're faithful with the little, you make room for more. When you praise the small, you invite the large. Life expands where appreciation flows. What you ignore contracts, but what you bless grows. So if you want your supply to increase, bless it now. Bless what you have, bless what you're expecting, and bless even the areas that feel empty, for they are simply preparing to be filled. When your posture is gratitude, you're no longer trying to manifest, you're allowing it to come. You've already accepted it as done in your spirit. And when you accept it inside, life has no choice but to mirror that belief. You don't have to force, you don't have to chase, you simply receive. Practice this throughout your day. Say thank you not just once but continuously. Thank you for the breath. Thank you for the idea. Thank you for the vision. Thank you for the unseen doors opening in your favor. Make gratitude your default state and watch how life responds. This is the secret. Gratitude is not the reward. It is the catalyst. It is not the finish line. It is the beginning. Every time you express gratitude, you are saying, I am ready. And that readiness becomes a magnet for abundance, favor, provision, and peace. So do not wait to be thankful. Be thankful to wait. Because gratitude is the vibration of the fulfilled. And the fulfilled are the ones who receive without limit. Massive wealth is not something you chase. It is something you align with. It begins in the unseen, is activated by assumption, and flows to the heart that stays open, detached, and full of gratitude. You are not here to beg for abundance, you are here to embody it. The moment you shift within, everything outside begins to move in your favor. It's not about waiting for signs, it's about becoming the sign. You must walk, speak, and feel from the end. Let your inner world become so rich, so complete, that the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. Release the need to control time. Stay open to the unexpected. And above all, give thanks, not because you received it, but because you know it is already yours. Sincerely, Thank you for listening, reflecting, and rising. You are not far from your desire, you are the bridge to it. Keep your heart open and watch what flows in.